Good morning, everyone. I'm sorry we had a little adjust here on our Zoom call. So if you want to put your captions on, we suggest you click on more and then captions and then caption setting, and then it translates. So thank you for being here today on behalf of the Women's Committee of the Brazilian Rural Society, and in partnership with the Women in Agribusiness, I'd like to warmly welcome and thank you all for joining us today. We're excited to kick off this special webinar with a presentation by Joana Colussi on the rise of agribusiness in South America and what it means for the global markets. But before we begin, I'd like to share a short video from the Brazilian Rural Society. So let's take a moment to watch it together. I'll just share here. Can you see it?
Marina, se você puder falar pausadamente, todo mundo em inglês, para ver se dá tempo de traduzir, viu?
Okay, I'm sorry. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Sim. Economia brasileira, sinônimo de emprego, renda, sustentabilidade e segurança alimentar. Uma conquista do produtor
sem
brasileiro
som.
que há mais de um século conta com a sociedade rural brasileira. Desde 1919, nossa missão é clara: promover um agronegócio cada vez mais eficiente, competitivo e sustentável por meio do diálogo, da ciência e do desenvolvimento do Brasil. Representando o produtor rural brasileiro, estamos presentes nos principais fóruns de discussão, como o Instituto Pensar Agro e as câmaras setoriais do Ministério da Agricultura. Participamos ativamente em conselhos estratégicos, trabalhando para tornar o ambiente de negócio no campo cada vez mais competitivo, dinâmico e sustentável. Defendemos a propriedade privada, a livre iniciativa e o respeito ao empreendedor rural. Nossos comitês e departamentos setoriais contam com especialistas técnicos e produtores que abordam temas como segurança jurídica, sustentabilidade, relações internacionais, política agrícola, direito tributário, inovação, tecnologia e muito mais. Junte-se à sociedade rural brasileira e faça parte da transformação sustentável do agronegócio. Conheça mais sobre o nosso trabalho e contribua para o futuro do campo brasileiro. Visite o nosso site e acompanhe nossas redes sociais. Sociedade Rural Brasileira. Há mais de um século, unindo o campo para um futuro mais próspero e sustentável.
So please, now let's welcome Joana here.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can I start? Yes.
Yes.
So thank you so much for having me here today. It's great to be here. Thank you so much, the Brazilian Rural Society and also Women in Agribusiness organization. I never been in the annual summit, but I have heard good things about. I know that's a very impactful event. So congratulations to everybody that's involved in this event. So we have like 30 minutes, maybe a little less, to talk a little bit about the agriculture in South America and the implications for the global markets. So I will ask you the permission to share my screen. I guess I already have that here.
We can see it.
Yeah, and there we go. Can you see?
Yeah, but we can see the next slide part.
Still?
Yeah.
Oh, let's see again.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, now we can see it big.
Big?
Full screen.
Yes. You don't see the second
No.
one? No, there you go. So let's see if I can move from here. There we go. So the idea today's talk, I will start with a very quick overview about the FarmDoc extension program. So sorry, I was expecting someone to do some introduction, but maybe I do very quickly. I am Brazilian, as you can tell in my accent. So I'm from the south of Brazil, near Argentina and Uruguay. I have been living here since 2020. I arrived in the US 1 month before the pandemic started. So I completed my PhD in business administration. Then I did my postdoctoral in agriculture economics. And nowadays I work as an instructor and also as a research and extension educator here in University of Illinois. I am in the Midwest of the United States. We are in Illinois. Illinois is the #1 in soybean production and #2 in corn production in the US. So I was talking with Janet before we start, and I have mentioned that there is no hills here. There is no mountains around. Almost 80% of the state is occupied by agriculture. So coming back to the outline, I talk a little bit about the FarmDoc extension program. I will touch in the Brazil, US, and China triangle. Then I will talk about the Brazil's corn ethanol boom, a little bit what does the future hold in terms of production and also in terms of exports with folks in the United States and Brazil. I think most of our audience today are Brazilians and Americans. And I would love to receive questions in the end of the presentation if you have time for that. So just a quick overview about the US land grant universities. I don't know if you are familiar with this term, land grant. Maybe the Americans here are, but basically was one initiative from 1860s when the federal government put some resources and some money to create universities with focus on the teaching of practical agriculture, science, and engineering. So when you hear about a land grant university, they have a triple mission. So research, teaching, and extension. So the idea is to provide information, to provide service to help local stakeholders. Here you can see the map of the land grant colleges and universities in the US. So each state has one land grant. For example, here in Illinois, there are 5 public universities, Illinois State University, Northern Illinois University, but just one is the land grant, that's University of Illinois. The land grant, like I said, has the responsibility to provide research, teaching, and also extension. Why I'm talking about that? Because FarmDoc, it's an extension program. The folks here in the Corn Belt, the famous Corn Belt, the Cinturão do Milho in Portuguese. So we cover here some topics like ag finance, ag commodity policy, ag law, biofuels, crop insurance, marketing and outlook, and also farmer management. We have many specialists. They are professors, researchers, extension educators, and each one has one responsibility in terms of topic to cover. So just a quick overview, the FarmDoc was established 25 years ago. Remember that 25 years ago, the access of the information was not something trivial or easy like nowadays. So that time, a group of ag economists here from Illinois, they created one website to provide economic models for farmers to make better decisions. So regarding cost production, revenues, regarding decisions related to crop insurance, so market outlook, prices, all this kind of information are free and are public for everyone to access on the FarmDoc website. And then in 2011, they created the FarmDoc Daily, that's one website as well, where we publish at least one article per business day. More recently, the Farm Policy News, that's basically a summary of the most important news related to agriculture. And recently, we also have created the YouTube channel where we have webinars, 5-minute FarmDoc Daily, podcasts, so also to disseminate the information. So here just one example, we try to make content available in different platforms, the traditional articles, the videos and the shorts for Instagram, YouTube. We also have, even though the FarmDoc was created with the module Web First, I don't know if I'm speaking very fast. Please, Marina, let me know if
I think it's great. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know regarding the translation, but please.
It's working here for me, but maybe if you like just slow down a little bit.
I will try.
Yeah,
I can
but
do
it's
that.
great. Yeah.
So even though FarmDoc was created with the idea web first, so most of our content or interaction with farmers here in the US is based on the digital, so or website or platforms, but we also have the in-person meetings that are very important. We have the Illinois Farm Economy Summit, we have Farm Assets Conference, so all these events are very important to connect face-to-face with the farmers and stakeholder as a whole. So here a little bit about our team. We have faculty members, we also have researchers, extension educators, and we also have people that work with social media, webinars. So we have a variety of extension teaching and research appointments. So I'm done with the FarmDoc. The reason that I presented the FarmDoc before, because most of the data that I will mention here or the analysis are made by the FarmDoc team. That's the reason are made from the FarmDoc team. So my first topic today, I'm trying to control my time because I talk a lot. So it's a kind of hot topic related to the impacts on the US, Brazil, and China soybean triangle. Everybody is reading, is following the news related to this tariffs strike again, the implications for the international markets, and especially the implications for these three big players. So Brazil, the United States, and China, big producers and importers of commodities. So if you come back here, 20 years ago, we can see the total soybean planted area in the United States and in Brazil. So we can see that the United States since then has growing around 1%, the average annual growth rate. So meanwhile, Brazil is growing around 4%. So we can see that the speed of growing in Brazil is much higher than the United States, because in Brazil we still have new land to be occupied, even from degraded pasture land or from new agriculture frontiers. The situation is very different here in the US. There is no land available anymore. So if you look in the last years, the area occupied by agriculture as a whole is decreasing because the cities are increasing. So there is no space in terms of land to increase the production. So most of the increase of the production here in the US in the last years was based on yields in the productive. It's not in new land. If you go back in 2005, the United States planted 72 million acres. Sorry, I should put that in hectares, or I have all my numbers in acres and in bushels. I didn't know how much Americans and Brazilians will have in the room. But anyway, the idea here is just to show the trend. So United States from 72 million acres to 86 million acres. But in Brazil, 58 million acres 20 years ago to over 100 million acres. So it's more than double. So you can see this increase in total soybean planted area. Here, we also have the same idea in the last 15 years related to the total soybean exports by the United States and Brazil. As you can see, in 2013, until 2012, the United States was the #1 in soybean exports. In 2013, after the United States had a severe drought, Brazil became the #1 in soybean exports. And since then, Brazil is increased this difference. Of course, there was some variations in some years, but we can say that since 2017, Brazil is increased the gap related to the United States. Remember, in 2018 was the first round of the trade war. Look at what's happened that year. Brazil exported more than almost the double than the United States. So, and nowadays this difference is pretty significant in terms of soybean exports. And here another graph that shows us this impact from the trade war, the China's share of the United States and Brazil soybean exports. Look, before 2017, the United States has around 60% of its soybeans exported to China. Meanwhile, Brazil are around 70%. But since 2018, even though the United States was able to recover the China's share, they never overcome 60% after 2018. Last year was 52% of the China's share. Meanwhile, Brazil 73%. So we can see that there was a dramatic change in the market dynamics in the international trade since then. Here you can see some forecasts related to the soybean exports in Brazil. So Brazil reached a record 2 years ago in 2023. Again, China was responsible for over 70% of its exports from Brazil. And there is a forecast that Brazil this year could reach a new record. Sorry, I'm talking about million bushels, but that means over 100 million tons. The forecast for 2025 is between 105 110 million tons. That's the amount that Brazil could export this year because of a new round of the trade war between China and the United States. We already have seen some impact in the Brazilian market. Here you have the soybean export premium at the port of Paranaguá in Brazil. This is dollars per bushel, but this is, I don't know you are familiar with what means premium, but premium is extra money that exporters receive when they sell the production. So they have the base of the price, that's the Chicago price. So, and also they receive one extra that they call premium. Sometimes is the premium is negative, but when you have a very high demand, this premium is positive. So you can see that the forecast for this year that the premium will be very high because China are looking even more to buy the Brazilian soybean. So when this demand increase, as a consequence, the premium increase as well. So I'm done with soybeans so far. So let's talk a little bit about Brazil's corn ethanol boom. I know that's a lot of information, sorry, but I can share my slides with you after the presentation, and you can grab this data and see with more time later. But I really like to cover at least soybeans and corn because I know how important these commodities are for Brazilian and also American market. So here a quick overview about the total corn production in Brazil in 3 crops per year. I'm talking about the first crop, the second crop, and the third crop. The second crop, as you know, is responsible for almost 80% of the total corn production in Brazil. Safrinha is little harvest in Portuguese, but it's not little anymore. It's actually the safrão is the biggest harvest in Brazil. So when it's tough because when you try to explain, especially here in the US, how Brazil is able to continue increase the planted area, how Brazil is able to increase the production. One of the reasons for that's Brazil has at least double cropping, sometimes triple cropping. So, and the corn production is a very great example to explain because most of the safrinha, the second crop in Brazil, is planted right after the soybean harvest. So they use the same land and they produce at least 2 crops per year. And here also we can see this increase in the last 10 years. Again, one comparison between the total corn planted area in the United States and Brazil. Look, 20 years ago, in 2005, the United States used to plant 82 million acres. Nowadays, 91 million acres. So they increased 6 million acres. But when you go to Brazil, it's not the double, but I would say that in couple of years, Brazil will at least double. So 2005, 30 million acres, and nowadays over 50 million acres. So it's a average annual growth rate around 3% in Brazil and United States 1%. And here a picture related to the total corn exports by the United States and Brazil. You know that the United States is a big player in the corn market, is the #1 in corn production, #1 in corn exports, but Brazil is increasing its relevance in the international market. In 2023, Brazil became, at least for 1 year, for 1 marketing year, the #1 in corn exports. Remember, China opened its market to Brazilian corn in November 2022. Not by coincidence, in the year after, Brazil was the #1 in corn exports. So we are seeing some decrease in corn exports since then in 2024, and maybe we'll see the same in 2025. But there are other factors at the play, and I will touch on that. So, but first, let's see the China's share of the United States and Brazil corn exports. So different than soybeans, the share is much lower, but still in 2023, China was responsible for almost 30% of the total Brazil corn exports, and that year around 12% of the American corn exports. And this dependence is decreasing, basically because China is trying to reduce its dependence on corn imports. Actually, they are trying to do the same related to soybeans, but for soybeans it's a little bit more difficult because they import much more soybeans than corn. If you look the average of the China imports, Soybeans is around 100 million tons. Meanwhile, corn is around 20 million metric tons. So it's much easier to reduce the corn dependence than the soybean dependence. But in a medium or long term, maybe they will be able to do that, and it could be a huge problem, especially for Brazilian market. So I mentioned that Brazil is decreasing its corn exports, and one of the reasons of that is the Brazil's ethanol boom. The corn ethanol plants have begun appearing in Brazil in the center-west region, especially Mato Grosso do Sul, Goiás. Nowadays, there are 25 ethanol plants in Brazil using corn as the main feedstock. Brazilians know that historically, the Brazil's ethanol is from sugarcane. But this history is changed in the recent years. Now we have new ethanol plants that they are capable of processing either corn or sugarcane. And by the way, the first corn-only ethanol plant in Brazil was built in 2017. And it was an investment from an American company, FS, that was actually a joint venture between Tapajós Participações and FS, that's an agriculture summit group from Iowa. So, but in summary, nowadays we have in Brazil plants that are full corn. They work just with corn to process ethanol, but we also have flax plants that they can use either corn or sugarcane. Here you can see the Brazil's ethanol plants that are consuming a record volumes of corn. As you can see, 7-8 years ago, the amount of the corn crushed for ethanol was very low, and nowadays is represent around 15% of the total Brazil corn, crush for ethanol as a whole. Here we can also see the production of ethanol is growing in Brazil. Like I said, less than 10 years ago, the participation of corn was almost zero, and nowadays is around 20% of the total ethanol consumption or production in Brazil. Here you can also see the Brazilian corn output that has changed over the past decade. We know that Brazil is a big producer of meat, especially poultry, pork, and also that they use much more corn than cattle. But you can see that even though for feed, this consumption is increasing, the exports as well, but also the food, seeds, and industrial, that in this part includes ethanol, just to give you a sense of about the Brazilian corn use in domestic markets. And we also have an impact from this higher demand from either from feed or from exports, and for ethanol, Brazil corn prices climb on strong local demand. These values, actually, I just grabbed data until the beginning of April, but I know that in the middle of April, the prices are even higher. That's the highest level since 2022. Remember that 2022, we had the start of the war in Ukraine, between Russia and Ukraine. So we are with the prices in Brazil in the local market very close of that level. So, oh my gosh, maybe I have 5 minutes more, Marina. So I hope so. So I need just to show 2 more slides, just for thinking about the future. So here we have the projections for the next decade. When you look at the Brazilian market, the soybean production is expected to increase 19%, and the corn production is expected to increase 25%. But when you look at the projections here in the US, for soybeans, 6%, and for corn, 6%. So the percentage of the forecast production in the US is much lower than in Brazil. let's look at the numbers regarding exports. For soybean exports, the forecast that Brazil could increase 32% in the next decade, and meanwhile corn 47%. If you look at the projections for American market, soybeans 13% and corn 15%. So of course, there are a lot of factors at play, international demand, a new round of the trade war between China and the United States. So for Brazilians, we know that the exchange rate is a very important factor, so the local currency. So here just some projections to thinking about the future. I'm just showing here the Farm Doc sponsors, also our educational partners, the College of Agriculture, Consumer and Environment Science, and the Department of Agriculture and Consumer Economics, where I work. So thank you so much for your attention. I'd be very happy to receive any questions if you have time. If not, that's fine. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Joana, for your insightful presentation. Your perspective on the growth of agribusiness in South America and its global implications was enlightening. Before we move on, just a quick note. If anyone has questions for Joana, please feel free to hold them until the end of the session. If we have some time for the Q&A. And if we don't, no worries, we can send it us via WhatsApp, and we'll make sure that it reaches Joana. So now to continue our program, I'm pleased to introduce Janet Fisher, Assistant Director at Women in Agribusiness, and she will share more about the incredible work that WIA is doing to empower women across the ag sector, as well as give us a preview of what to expect at upcoming WIA Summit 2025. So I'll just share here her presentation.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Marina, and thank you, everybody, for having me here. I'm a little under the weather. My voice is a little low, but I can do it. So once we get this up here, I'll just jump right in. So, almost there.
I just can't see the here. Can you see it?
Yep, perfect. Okay. Marina, thank you for the introduction. I am the Assistant Director of Women in Agribusiness, or WIA, as we say for short. I've been with the group for 2 years, and now you can go to the next slide. So we are based in the US, but we are in the process of expanding into other geographic markets. We have been around for 14 years. This will be our 14th summit. The goal of Women in Agribusiness is to create a community of professionals in agribusiness and agriculture who support and uplift women in the industry. We know there are a lot of women in the industry, even if we aren't represented at representative levels. But we want to take those who are here and showcase them, showcase the talent, make sure they get the opportunities for education about the industry and for networking opportunities with other folks across the industry. And that's what we try to do with our offerings. So our community involves everyone from the farm all the way to the retail shelf. Along the bottom there, I've got a number of different industries that are involved with us, but that is not the entire list. It's everyone who is involved in either the direct production of food and ag products, and everyone who supports those, like folks in consulting and financial services and insurance. So that's just a sampling there. We can go to the next one, Marina. So our main event every year is the annual Women in Agribusiness Summit. It's an annual gathering of 1,100, we're up to about 1,100 women now. There are a few men who join, but it's like 99% women. who come from all across the industry, from primarily from the US, but we have pretty sizable groups from anywhere from 9 to 12 other countries. We've had a growing following from Brazil, thanks to you all. And we'd love to continue building on that. So the summit is 3 days of content. It's a conference primarily, educational sessions on what's going on in the food and ag economy, primarily focused on what's happening in the US, because most of our audience is from the US, but we do look outward globally as well, and are making sure to incorporate more topics on Brazil and how Brazil's ag economy is interacting with ours as well. And a lot of networking. We put a lot of emphasis on networking with decision makers and all the different folks that you could want to meet at this event. So next one, please. A couple additional pieces of our event that we do every year. We offer the Demeter Award of Excellence. This goes to 3 women in the agribusiness industry who have 10 plus years of contributing to the field. And we focus on women who are leaders in the industry, who have advanced the field, and who have also shown, put a lot of effort into helping others come up through the industry as well. We also have a student scholarship program. We have sponsors who will sponsor a student to come to the event, and they get access to the full summit. They get a mentor to follow that week, and it in some cases leads to them getting hired by those companies or by other companies at the event. So we want to give those students in university, a chance to experience it. Next one, please.
I'm here on the picture actually because it was last year and I was a student.
Oh,
Just
you
an ad.
are? That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
Yes.
Yes. Awesome. That's very cool. Okay, so this year, 2025, the summit is happening on a Monday through a Wednesday, September 22 through 24 this year. We are in Florida, in Orlando. I have a link there. Marina, I sent you the PDF version of this. So if you decide to send it out, oh, you don't need to go to it. It's okay. But if you do send the PDF version out, it's got those links in there that people can follow to find more information. 3 days of activities this year, 18 different conference sessions, and 22 different types of networking sessions. Next one, please. So again, we're expecting around 1,100 attendees. Typically about 20% or more are executive level. The vast majority of them are sort of like mid or senior management level. So decision makers, people who are there to make connections with you, build partnerships, hire, etc. We have some special activities that we offer every year. So this year that'll include farm tours at a local farm, a development workshop that's run by Syngenta, and exclusive networking sessions there's a protein dinner for folks who are in animal ag industries. There's also an executive lunch for folks who are at executive level and want to spend a little extra time with other execs. And this picture here with the logos is a sampling of some of the companies who are there. We have hundreds of companies represented through sponsorship and delegates and partners as well. So this is just a sampling. We typically have, I want to say, 250 or more companies represented there across the industry. So next one, please. So I wanted to show you a little sampling of our agenda so far, because the education from the agenda and the conference sessions is something that we put a lot of effort into. So Karen Braun is going to start the event off. She's from Reuters news organization. She's going to talk about ag commodities market trends. Kathy Malone, who's a longtime friend of women in ag at Viterra, she's going to be part of a panel on supply chain risk management. Shinan Lee, who is with Rabobank, who is another longtime sponsor of ours. She's going to cover consumer demand trends. Alejandra Castillo and your very own Sergio is going to be, they're going to be part of a panel talking about trade policy. So that one's going to be very internationally focused, but heavily on North America and Brazil. And I imagine, Joanna, like you mentioned, a lot of talk about China and tariffs. So, but who knows what's going to happen between now and then. Then we have Heather. It's going to be part of a panel on human resources and company culture in agribusiness companies. And Stephanie at BASF is going to be part of our annual panel that where we have executives talk about their career path story in agribusiness and how any advice they have for others coming up. So that's just a sampling. We have many more speakers. So I'm here today because we are working very hard to get international delegations to join us this year. We've had representation from SRB for several years now and a growing representation, but we'd love to bring more folks in, particularly from Brazil. So for large groups, we're offering partnerships that include discounted registration price. If we have enough from Brazil, we can create a focused session or workshop for that group. And then assistance in organizing custom tours around the region, because we have connections with the Farm Bureau and different farm operations and research operations around the area. So we are in partnership with SRB and that's what we're working towards. So I think the last one, next one. So finally, if you can't join us for the summit, or if you just want to stay connected all year, the membership is another way to stay connected. There's a link there. So when you get the PDF version, you should be able to go to that website and find this information. The membership includes these benefits listed here, and it's a way to stay connected from anywhere with the community. And I just noticed when I was pulling this picture up, the picture on the top is from last year. I think that's Roberta and Lucia and maybe Andrea in that picture with Temple Grandin when we were in Denver last year. So yeah, that's what I've got, trying to keep it short so that we can get to the things that you guys want to get to, but thank you very much. And on the PDF that I sent you, my email address is on it. So if you have any questions, you can either reach out through SRB, our point of contact there, or you can just reach out directly to me.
Okay,
so
thank you
for your
very
time.
much, Janet. This was a great presentation, and we look forward to participate on this year's summit. Last year was an amazing experience as a student and also with the Brazilian Rural Society, and we are very excited to participate this year as well.
We're excited to have you.
Thank you. So now I'll invite Patricia, which is our executive director, to talk about a little bit of SRB work, and Lucia as well to talk about the Women's Committee and this year participation on the WIA Summit.
Hi, everyone. Are you listening to me?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Marina. Joanna, congratulations for your presentation. It was great. Thanks, Janet. It was wonderful to hear from you. As Marina said, we are very happy to be with you today and with WIA. It's a privilege to be here. I'm Patricia, the Executive Director of Brazilian Rural Society. As we saw in the beginning of the presentation, I'll make a resume for a simple resume about our institution. Brazilian Rural Society was founded in 1919, so we are going for our 106th year in May. So it's an association that represents rural producers from all over Brazil, working to defend the development of national agribusiness in Brazil. It's a huge mission, and we try to create new initiatives so we can put Brazilian agriculture becomes more increasingly efficient, competitive, and sustainable, based always on dialogue and contributing to development of Brazil and the food system around the world. Our principal topics are defend private property, free enterprise, and respect all over the rights of rural entrepreneurs, contribute to sustainable practice in Brazilian agriculture, and bring knowledge for our producers and farmers with a focus on economic, social, and environmental things and topics. And from these missions, we have departments. One of them is the women's department that Lucia is our leader. And for us, it's really important to make connections and exchange our experience between women in Brazil and international women, especially international markets, as we are doing in the US. And principally when we think about international products and international topics to discuss and to practice with agribusiness. So I would like to invite Lucia to talk about a little bit about the committee. Lúcia, se você quiser começar, fica à vontade.
Olá a todas, sou Lúcia Bortoloso, sou coordenadora do Comitê das Mulheres da Rural, da Sociedade Rural Brasileira. Hoje é um dia muito importante para nós. Estou muito feliz de estar aqui hoje, no primeiro webinar nosso, que é um fruto, né, de uma semente que nós começamos o ano passado a nos conectar, né, com as mulheres, né, do IA, e como foi a nossa primeira lição. Primeiramente, eu quero agradecer de coração, né, pela presença, né, da diretoria da UI aqui, com Janet e Michelle estar aqui conosco, sempre muito carinhosas e sempre muito acolhedoras. Quero também agradecer a Joana Colussi pela linda palestra, pelo excelente dados que nos trouxe aqui hoje, que nos enriquece cada vez mais no conhecimento de todo esse contexto mundial. Quero também agradecer a nossa equipe, né, de todo o Comitê da Rural, Andréa Cordeiro, Roberta Pássaro, Marina Lima, nossa querida Marina, nossa Lourdes Bortoloso, nossa presidente de honra, e também a Magda, que está lá nos Estados Unidos, também uma mulher que representa, né, o agro, né, da forma de estar à frente de uma multinacional, e a querida também Patrícia Arantes, que está aqui conosco. E Kelly, a Andréa Russo e Luciane, que estão sempre também na retaguarda nos ajudando. O nosso comitê, eu vou falar brevemente, Patrícia, posso continuar ou você quer dar um resumo já?
Lúcia, eu acho que pode continuar, como tem as legendas, acho que está tranquilo.
Ok. Eu vou falar brevemente, né, da construção, né, do nosso comitê, como Patrícia já falou, da Sociedade Rural Brasileira, da sua importância, de todo esse respaldo que a gente está carregando junto conosco dessa entidade centenária, dentro e fora do Brasil. Os movimentos de mulheres, eles têm crescido muito de anos para cá. Nós vemos que o Brasil ele tem aberto, né, oportunidades para as mulheres no setor do agronegócio, toda a cadeia produtiva, de poder estar atuando na ajuda do desenvolvimento do agronegócio brasileiro. E com esse intuito, nesse impulso, nessa pulsante participação de mulheres, a Sociedade Rural Brasileira viu essa oportunidade de estarmos aqui para poder contribuir também no desenvolvimento e na contribuição da mulher dentro do setor. E criamos, em setembro de 2023, foi criado o Comitê das Mulheres da Rural, tá? E com várias mulheres de 5 regiões brasileiras, a gente trouxe essas mulheres para nos ajudar a divulgar o nosso trabalho, né? Dentro do Brasil, comunicando e falando dos desafios, das dificuldades que as mulheres enfrentam dentro do setor. Também pudemos aí, pode ir passando, buscando precisávamos buscar uma identidade, né, para o nosso comitê. Como eu falei, já existiam mais de 50 grupos de mulheres do agronegócio se formando, e nós precisávamos ter também um objetivo, né, com esse grupo, e ter uma identidade. Com isso, nós vimos a oportunidade de a mulher ser a voz do Brasil através da fala, do conhecimento, levar o conhecimento, as boas práticas brasileiras para dentro e fora do Brasil. Pode passar. Atuamos dentro do Brasil com vários, estivemos participando de vários setores, né, de várias associações, vários encontros, feiras, levando a importância de estarmos junto com essa entidade centenária e as mulheres se unindo dentro do Brasil, em todas as regiões brasileiras. Então, nós pudemos levar junto com palestras e informações e capacitações do decorrer do ano passado e ainda esse ano aqui construindo também. Nossa primeira objetivo internacional, ano passado, nós buscamos, né, participar de eventos internacionais, porque eu vejo a importância da mulher também nessa comunicação assertiva do agronegócio, né? E nós vimos que em Denver havia esse grupo, né, da UIA, que já há muitos anos, já acho que é o 34º, ano passado foi, né, já ainda, se não me engano, do IA. A Roberta Páfaro, ela já havia palestrado, né, no evento das mulheres do agro nos Estados Unidos e nos abriu portas, né, para podermos estar lá com elas. E isso foi sendo uma conversa aos poucos e resultou, né, na nossa ida, um pequeno plano piloto ano passado, com Roberta, com Andréia Cordeiro, que também carinhosamente construiu a nossa missão no ano passado, 2024, para que a gente pudesse estar lá. Marina Lima, nossa eterna estudante, né, que hoje já não é mais, já se formou, mas ela pôde estar participando, ela foi contemplada no ano passado com uma bolsa de uma empresa, né, americana que pôde contemplar e estar participando conosco também dessa missão. E fomos muito bem recebidas, eterna gratidão por essa acolhida, né, no IA, que resultou de várias parcerias, né? Pudemos visitar universidades que nos trouxeram muito conhecimento dessa visão, né, que a gente pôde ter com elas. Tivemos também, dentro do congresso, várias palestras que a gente pôde também compartilhar na volta ao Brasil. Com vários grupos nós pudemos fazer esse compartilhamento. E assim a gente vai avançando para a segunda missão esse ano, que será em Orlando, como a Janet já colocou, né, para nós. E a gente está nessa construção. Hoje o webinar para nós já é um fruto, né, dessa parceria, que é a primeira dentre muitas, que eu tenho certeza, e muitas outras que virão. Já esse ano já estamos fechando novamente um contrato, né, com a IA, para a gente poder estar com elas novamente no stand, podendo levar temas importantes do nosso agro de forma assertiva, de fontes seguras. É esse o nosso papel como mulher do nosso comitê da Rural. Então, eu agradeço, né, desculpa aí se eu extrapolei um pouquinho o meu horário, mas quero agradecer a todas por esse dia tão especial. Aqui, né, a gente está falando um pouquinho de Orlando, mas a Janet já colocou, né, que seria o congresso de 20 a 27, 22, 23 de setembro, mas a gente está com essa missão indo de 20 a 28 de setembro. Acho que não precisa passar os detalhes. Pode passar. Marina. Se alguém tiver algo para falar, ou a Andréia, ou a Roberta, que está conosco, Patrícia.
Hi, it's Andrea here. I would like to thank you, the Women in Agribusiness team, Janet, Michele. We are very happy having you here in our webinar. And we are working hard to perform a great team to visit you in Orlando. And if you don't mind, I would like to ask you all to open your camera. Maybe we can take a big picture. Meninas, eu tô falando, agradeci a presença, agradeci a parceria com Women in Agribusiness e eu sugeri que todas abríssemos as câmeras para tirarmos uma foto para podermos postar. Ok, Marina? You can continue it and take our picture.
So 3, 2, 1. I'll have to take 2 because there are 2 pages on the gallery. So again, 3, 2, 1. Okay, all set. So I would like to thank once again Joana, Janet, Patricia, and everyone who helped us gather here this together today. So if you are interested on going on our mission to the WIA Summit 2025, please keep in touch. We are here to help you, and we are very excited to gather the most women we can to get along with us on the WIA this year. And if you have any questions about any topic or Joana's presentation, please text us and we'll reach her and get to you the answer as soon as we can.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so nice to see more about your projects in Brazil and also to learn about the women in agribusiness. So congratulations to you all, and your role in the society is very, very important. Thank you.
So thank you. So, and see you on another opportunity. Please follow us on social media and keep in touch with our objectives and our next steps on these missions.
Thank you so much. Thank you
Também
for your
gostaria
time.
de agradecer a todos que estão conosco também, os nossos participantes que estão conosco aqui no Brasil, nos Estados Unidos. Muito obrigada por estar conosco.
Thank you. See you guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, thank you.